A quick logistical note before we start. The Symmetry Gate URL I'm sharing in this episode won't be ready for company until Wednesday, May 20th. Best laid plans and all that, right? We're just putting the finishing touches on it to make sure it's right. So see you there on Wednesday. And now, back to confessions. Hello, I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. These weekly confessions run around 15 minutes. And Season 6 is now a lot about machine learning and how SEO fits or doesn't fit into this new reality. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 20 of Confessions of an SEO. This week, I'm going to share with you a new VizzEx tool. In fact, the first tool that can give you a score to tell you if your content is eligible for AI citations in Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude and Perplexity. I'm excited about this because it takes all this technical geek speak and turns it into a score. And you get a report on what you can to make your content more eligible. And it's free to try, and it will be eye-opening, I'm absolutely certain about. I was told I was on my soapbox a little too much this week because last week there was just way too much talk about Google penalizing AI-generated content. Like I shared in an earlier episode, all the content getting pushed out of the SERPs is not the result of a moral failure. It's just the math. And not that the content is AI-generated, it's just presented to these models in a way that's too uncertain, in a way that makes it too noisy and expensive to extract any information out of by these models. So if your content is too noisy or has too much structural friction in it for them, your content's going to get pushed out. But there is something you can do about it. You just need to know how to get quiet and frictionless structure into your site. So let's start. Let me tell you what I found this week in server logs. All right, short version, indexation is a legacy metric. If you're still thinking that that's the hill you're dying on, you are already dead, my friend. And I realize that's blunt and maybe too blunt for the CMO, but it's what someone needs to say to move people off this current list of KPIs. And that's the whole point why I had to conclude on the indexation testing. We are living in two worlds, legacy search and AI visibility. And these strategies that used to win in search, the ones that might still work for a little while, are the exact things creating the structural friction that is killing AI visibility. Period. End of discussion. The thing is, I can prove it right now. Google, which means both search and Gemini, is in what I call a lock-in phase. You know, if you're scrambling right now to fix your SEO for the upcoming core update, you might as well stop. It is, according to the data, too late. This is my forensic telemetry research. And that's where I found what I'm going to call an algorithmic kind of like lock-in. And it began on May 15th last week. So what does that mean? Well, it means the machine has stopped listening to new changes and is currently in what I'm calling algorithmic silence. It's a phase. It's not forever. But right now, when it gets into this, it's auditing the entire web. And because we're in this window and don't know it, I think it's really important that we shift our thinking. Amanda Natividad from Spark Turo coined the phrase zero-click marketing. And according to the data, she was not kidding. But here's where the forensic reality behind that is, okay? Clicks are for humans. Extractions are for machines. A zero-click doesn't mean failure. It often means the machine successfully extracted your logic directly into a featured snippet or perhaps an AI response. Now, if you need proof of that, all you have to do is find a specific, let's look at an H2 from your site on a page and just pop it into Google or pop it into Bing. If the search engine extracts your exact header to text relationship as the answer, you're looking at the receipt of a successful machine-to-machine handshake. So during this lock-in phase, Gemini is performing its symmetry audit. Now it's checking to see if the semantic promise in our code matches the visual experience on the screen. And if there's a mismatch, what we call structural dissonance, that content will fail the audit. And when you fail that audit, it basically means your content carries a very high compute tax for that model. It's simply too expensive in terms of energy and processing for Gemini to extract an answer from it. And in an era of efficiency, the machine will always bypass the noisy site for a clean and quiet one. Now, to demonstrate this process, drum roll please, VizzEx, we've developed and launched a Symmetry Gate auditor, and you can find it at symmetrygate.ai. This is the exact tool we use in-house to verify architectural integrity. You simply place it in your URL and hit run. And the auditor will give you a score, and it's not just going to be for Gemini, but ChatGPT and Claude and, God willing by today, Perplexity. Because the first question isn't, what am I being cited for? The first logical question has to be, how can I prove my content is eligible to be cited in the first place? If the score confirms structural dissonance, it means your code is just too noisy, and that's going to lower your score. Now, because the May 15th lock-in has already happened, when you go to get your report from symmetrygate.ai, don't use it as a tool to fix your site in time for the next core update. Now, listen to me on this. If you touch your code right now and try to fix things, you will trigger essentially an algorithmic invalidation. And you're going to reset a clock, a 12-day truth window. Yes, that's data-driven term for me. And you're going to effectively force your content to the back of the line. The audit is happening right now. So stay calm and do nothing if you can. So use the tool as a predictor. If you run your URLs and see that you passed, I guess you can kind of convert that into say you survived the May 15th audit. Now, if you get a failing report, you will know exactly why you're going to get dropped, even if you're findable now. So you can prepare for Q3 and, even more importantly, start to VizzEx your site. So now, like I say, I'm looking at all of this data over what's getting read, and I'm going to shift into interpreting some of that data to give us some idea of what might lie ahead, in the next few weeks, now that we're currently in this algorithmic lock-in phase. And this comes from my research. So you can think of it as the next evolution in indexation research, being eligible for these models. So we saw the infrastructure sweep, that's what I'm calling the lock-in, between May 10th and 15th. And it was done with an upgraded Chrome 148 crawler to perform this visible audit and content globally. And based on that event, basically the machine is currently in what is proving to be a 12-day, I'm using Air Bunny's truth window. And this is something, like I say, that I have seen now in not just as it's happening now, but also looking back. I have server logs for years, and I've traced it back so far as June 2025. I'm seeing the same thing. And looking at the signs now, Based on our past, I expect an aggressive spam update to hit very soon. I've sort of shifted. I think spam updates, they're probably better defined as a behavioral sweep of the SERPs. The algorithm is purging the mechanical noise, these noisy sites, to clear up the SERPs before the final settlement. And I say that because that's the point I've discovered where content is moved from RAG status, which is that short-term position, and it is subject to decay, to be lost, to move from that RAG status over into knowledge status for Gemini. Now, once the sweep is complete, that's going to be the 12-day window settlement. That'll be the end of it. And I would not be surprised to see that when that happens, we're going to see a core update rollout for the first week of June. Now, the interesting flip with this new insight is that core updates are really no longer penalties. In reality, they are a semantic settlement. So the move, just again to reiterate, this semantic settlement is the move for some content from RAG status to model knowledge. So the good news is if you pass the Symmetry Gate prior to May 15th, June is going to be your reward. All right, well, that's it for me this week. I'll see you next week. Confessions is sponsored exclusively by VizzEx. I am a partner at VizzEx. Full disclosure, this has validated all of my research on helpful content and what's going on. And VizzEx Pro is what makes your site computationally irresistible. Talking about that noise and lack of friction. Now, VizzEx is available for WordPress and HubSpot and soon more CMS platforms. The next one up is going to be, I'm trying to remember what it is. I'll let you know next week because the difference isn't more content. It's connected content with the lowest computational cost for LLMs. Go to VizzEx, VizzEx.ai. And if you want to get a score for your content, go to symmetrygate.ai. So let's not settle for those short-term citations anymore. It's not the LLMs, it's our content.